really happening here? An error has occurred with my output. So the question is where is this error? Hi, everybody. Well, I wasn't expecting this to happen. All right, well, we're just going to go check and see all the places. I know that you can hear me, so we'll be good. And we'll just kind of look to see what this sitch is. What is the sitch? So, I'm not live on Facebook. So you know what's interesting? I'm not live on Facebook. Am I live on YouTube? This is, I mean, because if I'm not live on either place, then does it, I mean, like, then I'm not actually live. So I'm not really live. Let's look at my channel. Okay. I am live. Okay, I'm going to click on that. Great. Okay, let's hit my mute. Hold on. I can't hear anything. Oh, of course I can't. Okay, so we know that I'm live on YouTube, which is fabulous. So we know that that's working. Let me bet that Facebook is currently the one giving me the problems, right? Let's see if Facebook is the one giving me the problem. Let's see. All right. This is my first time going live. Like, there we go. I'm live on both. Fabulous. How exciting. Oh my God. All right. So let's share this on my personal profile. You know what? I'm going to share this link, copy this link, and I'm going to share this on my personal profile and get this show on the road. How exciting. Oodalele. All right. Okay, there's my live. All right. If you have trouble with self-promotion, then this podcast is for you. Live streaming now. Alrighty, let's do it. Okay. Hi. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I am trying out something new. Last week we did the crowdcast thing. As you recall, nothing really worked super well. I was kind of annoyed. I tried to play around with it a little bit, and I ultimately decided that I didn't want it to be that much work. You know, because I think for me, and this is something that I think is important for everybody to think about whenever they're doing anything for their business, is how much work and time do you really want to spend on any given activity, right? Like, I'm just going to fix this while I'm doing this, the camera. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Yeah. Alrighty, there we go. I just want to make it a little bit more, you know, so you can see me. There we go. I think that's good. Let's do that. Okay, so it was just so much work. Oh my God, it was so much work and so much effort that I finally was just like, you know what? Like, I don't want it to take this long. Because something that I discovered, and I think that this is really, really important for all business owners to keep in mind, is that it is so easy to get caught up in the momentum of your business. So like, you're on a roller coaster. You start doing one thing, then you start doing another thing, and then you start doing another thing. And then like, you're just doing another thing after another thing after another thing. And then you look back, you know, after like a year, and what was supposed to be something that was temporary or was supposed to be something that wasn't supposed to like take a long time has suddenly now taken like forever. And when you really look back at it, you're like, oh my God, this is really not what what I was trying to do. So when I look back at, like, I was looking at Crowdcast, I was looking at this, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is all just so much effort and so much work. I was like, what is it that I'm actually trying to do? And I was like, the truth is I'm trying to simplify the process. I was like, so if I'm trying to simplify the process, there's only really a couple of things. First is people are on Facebook. Okay. So go live on Facebook. Great. Done. Second is I find it really easy to watch things on YouTube. So I was like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take care of my YouTube problem once and for all. Because my YouTube problem is that my YouTube channel was set up on the YouTube, my personal account. Hi, LaFern. So good to see you. Good morning. Oh, look, the chat box is back. Oh, oodalale, how exciting. All right, let me make that bigger so that we can see you now. Oh, this is so exciting. Now that we got rid of Crowdcast. Yeah. And I think your comment should stay there now. And I think that it's like only when someone else posts will it go up. So like now we're going to just keep seeing the chat so that like people can like keep going with the conversation. So yeah, so I realized that I was trying to make it simpler, but somehow I had ended up making it more complicated. So I was like, all right, how do we fix this? So when I broke it down into its absolute simplest, where are you guys watching things? You watch things on TikTok, you watch things on Instagram, you watch things on YouTube, you watch things on Facebook. Great. My live stream will let me go to YouTube and Facebook. Fabulous. That's all done. And then it'll also let me live stream to TikTok. So I'm going to figure that out. I didn't realize that till today. I'm like, all right, I'll figure that out. I'll do that. And then for Instagram, I'm just going to set up my iPad here and just go live doing that. So I was like, that is so much simpler than all the stuff I was doing before. So what I realized is I was just adding more and more layers, more and more charges, more and more things, more and more subscriptions. And what happened? Oh, I remembered. So I usually do a spring cleaning of all my finances in like March, right? But this March I was dealing with all of my trauma situations. So I was like, well, okay, I just didn't have time to do it. I didn't even think of it because I didn't even care. I didn't even think about it because I didn't even care. So when I was feeling like, okay, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling rejuvenated, I feel like I'm in the right place that I need to be, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, now I'm going to do my house cleaning of the subscriptions that I have, what I'm doing, what I like. And then I was like, you know what? I'm getting rid of Searchy. I'm getting rid of Podia. I'm not using user guiding. I'm like all these little things that I'm using. And I was like, you know what? Nope. I just started to get rid of things one by one because I realized I'm not using them. I'm not seeing value in them. And it's really made me realize, hi, Sophia, so good to see you today. It's really made me realize that my business is not as lean as I would like it to be. And I realized that somewhere along the line, everything just got out of control. And I just was like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do this and I got to do this. And I really realized I needed to like pull back and like really get clear on what it is that I'm actually trying to do and what do I want from my life. Because I feel like I've been on I got on a roller coaster, right? And so I'm like, oh shit, I'm on a roller coaster. And I woke up last night at like 3 a.m. in a complete panic because I was like, oh my God, how did I get on a roller coaster? I was like, stop, get off the roller coaster, stand, sit, meditate, right? So as a result, I managed to get rid of like, I don't know, like $4,000 a year worth of expenses. So that's really exciting. So that's why we are now on YouTube and we are on Facebook, and we're going to be on TikTok at manessa.konecki. So you can follow me at TikTok on manessa.konecki. And I'm already on Instagram on manessa.konecki there as well. So definitely you can check that out anywhere. So the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast is going to be coming all over the place to a social media platform near you. So stay tuned. Okay. So next up today, our conversation is going to be continuing to talk about how to charge what you're worth. So let me pull up I had all of the others. I pulled up all the previous week, but I didn't pull up the spreadsheet of like the things that we have talked about thus far. So over the last couple of weeks, we've actually been talking about, how to charge what you're worth. We've been talking about why we feel like, in episode 33, we talked about why do you feel like it's so hard to charge what you're worth, right? Because like, you're like, oh, just raise your prices or do this. And people make it sound like it's so easy. And like, we feel like there's something wrong with us because we're not able to just figure out what our value is. And like, here you go, this is what I'm charging and be done with it. And it seems like it's coming so easily to other people. There's a reason for that. So we talked about that in our episode a few weeks ago. And then a couple weeks ago, we talked about about how you value yourself, right? Like, how do you determine what that dollar amount is, and why not knowing what the market value is hinders you from making empowered decisions and feeling excited about your decisions, and rather making you feel like again, you're doing something wrong, like you're overcharging, you're undercharging, but whatever it is, it's not right and it's not good enough. So we talked about how to address some of those issues and determining your value in that way. And now today what we're really going to talk about is self-promotion, right? Because like once you have said to yourself, okay, I understand where all of this came from. I get it. I know why I feel the way I feel. And then you say, okay, I understand that I don't have enough knowledge about the market in order for me to feel confident in my numbers. So you're like, okay, I know where to go to get the resources to do those things, right? So that's the other thing. The next question really becomes about promoting yourself so that you can get what it is that you want, which is also known as advocating for yourself, right? Where you go in and you're like, I demand this price. I demand this raise. This costs $7. And someone goes, oh, well, oh God, I remember I had this customer one time. Oh shit. This is like, I remember this so vividly. So she was a direct seller and I was a direct seller, and I met her at an event. And she like at the event, she didn't really buy anything at the event. Like she kind of like poo-pooed on everything. It was just like, and I was like, all right, okay. But then she ended up buying a few things. So she messaged me later on and she was like, I really love these things that I got. I want to come to your boutique and take a look at what you've got, blah, blah, blah. So she comes to the boutique with her mother. And the first thing that she starts doing, her and her mom were just like talking shit about everything in our boutique. Oh, this is ugly. Oh, that's ugly. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, that's terrible. That kind of thing. And in retrospect now, I understand what they were doing, right? Like I didn't understand what was happening then because I was still new in retail. But what I understood was happening was they were pulling a power play. It's a power move. Because what they were trying to do is make me doubt the value of what it is that I had so that when we went to check out, they would be able to get a discount. And the reason that I know this is because then when we went to check out, they played some really interesting games, like literal games, to avoid paying full price for anything, down to just completely ignoring me when I was asking them, okay, so it started out with being like, do you want to, she's like, oh, well, I don't know that we can pay. It's going to take 2 cards and I don't know. And this, that, and the other thing. And like making a really big deal. It was like, I think a $75 purchase, right? And making a really big deal about the fact that it was $75 and that they were going to have to put on 3 different cards and that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, maybe you don't want to buy all these things then, right? And then they were like, well, so they put one on one card. And then when I was asking for the other card, like they just kept ignoring me, like constantly ignoring me, right? And again, it was a power play to make me doubt my pricing, to make me doubt what it is I was selling so that I would give it to them for a discount, right? And that had an enormous impact on me. Then I was actually more annoyed with them because honestly they were not particularly subtle about it. And so like I knew they were trying to play me, but I didn't understand the game they were playing. In retrospect, I know the game they were playing, and it still wasn't cool, and it still made me feel bad. But I understand it, and I understand that people are going to do that kind of thing, right? And so it makes it really challenging for us when it comes to like charging, like actually promoting for ourselves and saying this is good, this is amazing, or whatever. Is because, one, do we know? Are we confident in what it is that we're doing? But we're also, when you talk about going back into like the first, earlier on in the first, the episode 33, we talked about how we've been raised, right? So we're not really programmed to fight back when someone tells us that we suck. So it makes it really challenging. So what we're talking about today really is like the element of confidence in yourself, but like what are some of the things that happen in that moment about self-promotion? Where do these ideas come from? And what can you do to combat them? Because again, these are things that you're going to need to build up on. Charging your prices or demanding what you're worth is not just a one action step. It's not just well, just decide your price and do the thing. There are a lot of action items that go into it, and it takes some reflection and some marination. You need to marinate on your own thoughts and ideas to figure out like, okay, where does this come from for me, and how do I want to deal with this? You might need a therapist. You might need a worksheet. You might want to come and join the squad so that you can get some support as you're going through this. We have some money mindset coaches in there who can help you. But yeah, so that's the area that we're going to talk about today in the podcast, is that like sort of a broad overview is self-promotion and the fact that it's not a bad word. Okay, so I'm curious now. I want to see what it looks like on YouTube. Okay, so we have no comments on YouTube. So listen, if any of y'all want to go over to YouTube, right, the channel, let me just I'll post the link here. I'm going to post the link in the squad, or yeah, I'll just post it in the squad just so y'all can get to it if you want to. I want you to check it out. Let me know how it is for you. I actually think it looks gorgeous. Like it looks really, really good. Like I'm actually so impressed with the way YouTube looks. I'm like, God, why haven't I been doing this all along? So yeah, check that out because it was surprisingly easy to go live, like ridiculously easy. And I feel like it looks so pro, like it looks ridiculously pro. I will also say, everyone, that it is really apparent that not using our text messaging is absolutely a problem, but we're going to need to figure that out as part of the Patreon situation. Okay. So here we are. We're going to get started now with recording the podcast live. Sophia and LaFern, I know that you guys have a crew that usually joins with you today. So do me a huge favor if you wouldn't mind letting them know, just in case they wanted to attend, because I don't think we are doing the text messaging today. Just let them know that we are live, and we will get the show on the road now. Whew, oh, right. Okay. So how does this work? I just realized I totally forgot to talk about that. So how this works for you guys who are watching is that I'm basically going to see, it's sweet. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, I'm gonna flip over to the multi-stream chat now and see what that looks like. Oh, how sweet. I love this. We're gonna be playing around with this. Okay, so what's gonna happen is I'm basically gonna leave the screen and read from my notes and whatnot. Interesting. I saw that I had 9 and now I'm down to 8. Okay, I'm wondering if it's gonna go now, like it's gonna go from 8 to 9 when she goes on YouTube. Like I'm wondering if that's gonna happen. But yeah, so I'm gonna basically do the podcast and then we're gonna come back and talk about Q&A. So you can ask me any questions you have about charging your worth, about self-promotion. I could not recommend more that you get this in the feed of people who are on your teams or other business owners and whatnot, so that you can help them to also get more confidence in demanding what they are worth. Okay, or demanding their value. My God, I don't actually like using the term what you're worth. Hi, Sophia, I see you. Oh my God, there you are. I don't see like an increased number, so it's interesting. You went over to, oh, you know what? I'm going to click on refresh chat to see what happens. Yeah, it didn't happen. Okay, so what happened was, and there you are. Oh my God, both chats are showing up here. That's amazing. I love it. Okay. Oodalale, how exciting. Also, I have to ask, guys, doesn't my hair look like baby Zoolander today? Like, I just gotta say, like, I washed my hair and I forgot to put the gel in it. And so when I sat down, I was like, I didn't even know what I looked like. When I sat down and saw my face and I'm like, oh my God, my hair. I'm like baby Zoolander. Yeah, there's that. Oh my God, we have 11 viewers. Now here's what I'm curious. How many of these viewers are on YouTube? That's what I'm really curious about. Hi, Sophia. I see you there. Great. And now can I see how many viewers I have on YouTube? I'm looking to see what this looks like. Interesting. Okay. 3 are watching now. Okay, so it looks like I have 3 viewers watching me live on YouTube. Addie or Foxwolf. So I'm under my daughter's login. Grand Rising. LaFern. That is LaFern. Hello, hello. Oh my God, it works everywhere. This is so exciting. I actually really, really love the YouTube chat. Like, I gotta tell you, I am so impressed with how pro the entire YouTube interface is. Like, it's amazing. Okay, so here we go. Let us go into the, okay. All right, approve. And what am I doing? Okay, here we go. Ready? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna itch in my throat. Okay. All right. Ow. It was a little loud. Hello. My name is Vanessa Konecki. I am an anti-hustle business coach that breaks societal norms, who works with business owners that are tired of feeling like they're doing their entire businesses wrong. Most of the time they think it's them, but the truth is it is absolutely not. My students, listeners, and clients are misfits just like you, and your problem is not that you're doing it all wrong. It's that you are a unique snowflake trying to fit into a sea of cookie cutters because you think you should, or you think you're supposed to. Let's work on massaging that out of you today, because your beauty and uniqueness is a gift to the world. And there's no reason for you to hide it, dude. Absolutely no reason for you to hide it. And in today's podcast, we're going to talk about why we dull our light and what you can start doing to get confident promoting yourself online so that you can make more money, which is ultimately what we're all in business for, is to make more money. So let's start by talking about why we think self-promotion is bad. In an earlier episode of the podcast, episode 33, we talked about the lessons that children are taught growing up and the messages that we internalize. We believe that there is a right way to be. We believe that someone else knows that right way, right? The right way that you're supposed to be. And they're going to tell you how to do that right way, and then you just have to do it. You'll do it the way you think you're supposed to do it, but then they'll tell you it's not going to work. And either they'll say you're doing it wrong, or you're just going to feel like you're doing it wrong if no one's around to tell you that you're not doing it wrong. Right? So this happened in school. It happened on, for chores you were supposed to do. It just happened in general life stuff. Now, as a girl, you're going to have to do a lot of things. You're going to be told to do a lot of things that make absolutely no sense, in terms of when you sit down, when you stand up, when you shut up, when you talk, when you're supposed to be seen and not heard, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, how you're supposed to behave, and so on and so forth. Even if you grew up in a very progressive home, it was still progressive within a society that had that framework. So you still internalize those images, even though you may have been somewhat protected or been given, more privileges or freedom than other people in your area or in your community. Now, if you had Southern grandma like I did on the flip side, right, then you had a whole different set of things you needed to live with, right? So first things first, the biggest one is do not get too big for your britches, right? That is like, I remember hearing that from like the youngest age, that there was a space, there was definitely there was a line, an invisible line that I didn't know where it was, but my grandma knew. And when I hit it, I was getting too big for my britches. I was thinking I was just a little bit too much for myself. Now, this is something that is really interesting in a lot of communities where if you behave outside the societal norm and what is expected or what people expect of you, then people will talk about you. So in Pakistan, I remember aunties baat karte the कि अपने आप को इतनी बड़ी सोचती है, right? She thinks she's all that, right? I remember that all the time, right? And for whatever reason, whether it's because of the way you dress, the way you act, the things you say, the things you behave. But it didn't stop in Pakistan. And the reason why I share that is that it happens in Pakistan, it happens in America, it happens everywhere. So this is not restricted to any particular location. everyone has an opinion about what it is that they think you're supposed to be doing, what the right way of doing something is. And if you don't adhere to the societal norms, whoever the social lionesses are, whoever it is that is the person who is in charge of acceptance and rejection in that community space is going to either accept or reject you. And you're going to feel that sense of acceptance or rejection, right? And nobody wants to feel rejected. So what a lot of us end up doing is we end up learning exactly how we're supposed to behave, regardless of what it is that we actually feel like we're supposed to be doing or supposed to be saying. We learn how to play the role that we're supposed to play, and we just do that thing, right? Because we don't want anybody to ever think we're getting above ourselves, right? Or above whatever, whatever station it is that you were born into, this, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, right? Like, and this is, again, all over the world. It's not unique to any one particular place, where there's a determination of whatever your station is, and that's where you're just supposed to be and stay in your lane, right? Rejection. And so now if you try to get out of that lane, right, you're going into a space that is new and scary for you, that has historically not accepted you, right? Whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like, and on the flip side, you're being rejected by the community that supported you. So it just becomes easier to conform to whatever it is that is supposed to be done. Right? Now, what's really important about this is that through all of this, what we learn and internalize is that what we want does not matter. So whatever it is that you want inside you as a person, whoever you are, right, it is not relevant. What is relevant is that you need to make sure that you are always on the lookout for what other people need or want, to make sure that you can anticipate those needs and wants and make sure that you are doing whatever that is, right? So that's really our job. So we spend a lot of time, and for many of us, spend a lot of our time just keeping an eye out, or at least keeping a subconscious ear out in case someone needs us, right? So that we can do whatever it is that is needed of us. So our wants and desires, we do not spend a lot of time on them. And so if somebody is to say, what do you want? We're not really going to necessarily know. That was actually one of the scariest questions I've ever been asked. Now, what's important about this, it sounds like I'm talking about a lot of stuff that you just bring up in therapy and be like, okay, well, this sounds like more like family shit and like internal stuff. Why is this something that is relevant to business? Now, what is important is because this framework determines how you see the entire world. Because remember, business problems are not business problems. They're people problems. And before you're a business owner, you're a person. So your person brings in this worldview. So you are entering into your business as someone with all of these ideas, and you will bring them into the business with you. Okay. So now here you are. You've been told your whole life that there's a very specific way that you're supposed to show up in any specific and given situation. And now suddenly, and one of those things, by the way, is keep your mouth shut. Don't brag, right? Don't get too full of yourself. Like, don't do that, right? That's the worst. If somebody thinks you're arrogant or braggy, like a show off. Oh my God, there was nothing worse than being called a show off when you were a kid, right? What happens when you're now trying to sell, though, is that you're trying to do exactly those things that people made fun of you for when you were younger. And now it's like, wait, what? And it's tough. How do I self-promote when I've been told my whole life that self-promotion is bad, right? I'm inherently asking you to do something that you think is wrong because that's what you've been told your whole life. So how do you reconcile those two things? So even when you're trying to sell, you will be diminutive, right? Now, if you go into marketing or sales as a profession or grow up in like a sales family, then this probably doesn't surprise you as much. And what I'm telling you right now, you're like, yes, this makes perfect sense to me. I totally understand that like there's a way you have to be to sell things, right? Now, because you've already done that emotional legwork to see that there is a bridge that happens there. Now, for someone like me, right, in my 30s, to realize that like me as a person is bringing like all these things in, it's a huge emotional leap. And to be perfectly honest, for many years, I didn't even want to be a business owner at all because I didn't understand that I didn't know how to make that leap. I didn't even know that that leap was a thing that I needed to make. I just knew that it was really, really uncomfortable for me, and that figuring out was something that I just didn't understand how to do, right? Now, how does this show up in your business? Okay, so I'm going to give you some really practical examples of how this actually shows up in your business. So when you go to write a post right now, okay, so you're bringing all this stuff in with you and you go to write a post right now and you're talking about selling, this mug, you'll be like, oh, it's great. It's, it's a fuck the hustle mug. It's nice. You're just going to talk about it. This is what's great, whatever, right? Now the thing is that this mug is not just a mug. This mug is representing my philosophy, right? This mug is not, you're representing me. You're like, dude, I believe in this philosophy, right? So one way I can sell the mug and say, this is a mug, it's yellow and it says fuck the hustle. And believe me, I've actually sold this mug in that way, right? The other way of selling the mug is to say, listen, you don't want to hustle and you want everyone around you to know that you don't like to hustle. Get yourself a mug like this and tell the world that you don't hustle anymore, right? Rep the brand, dude. I'm actually telling you to buy something I created for me so you can rep my brand at this point, okay? That is totally different from me telling you to buy a cup. Two totally different things, right? So one is I am grabbing onto your emotional center and saying, listen, if you want to be a misfit like me, get my misfit mug, right? Which I'm actually making a misfit mug, right? Get my misfit mug. The other one just says buy a mug, right? So now if I'm going to say, hey, listen, buy this mug, I'm be like, well, okay, sure, I can buy a mug, but I have 30 mugs. You have 40 mugs, right? But when I say show the world that you don't have any desire to hustle, that you're like, there, seriously, I am a misfit in business and I'm going to do whatever I want. Suddenly you're like, I'm going to represent, because none of your other mugs can do that. Just this mug, right? And that's the thing that you want to consider, is that when you bring in all the fact that you can't talk about yourself in that way, the only thing that you're going to do when you're trying to sell any product is simply talk about the product. This is the product. Here you go. But it goes even one step further than that, right? So instead of actually selling the piece and marketing the piece on a post, I'm simply going to present it to you. This is a cup. It is yellow. It is glass. It costs $13, right? I'm just going to tell you what the cup is, but I'm not going to tell you anything more above and beyond that related to the emotions, how you're going to feel about it, what it evokes in you, what purpose it is, why you have it. I'm not going to do any of those things because I don't know, right? I don't know what those are, because for me, right, to be able to, like, for people who are in, so think about this. I have ADHD. I've been told my whole life that I've been doing things wrong. I'm pushing up against this wall, constantly pushing up against the wall. It's not working. Okay. Now I know that I need to learn target audience. Okay. Because I don't understand why this person wants to buy my mug. Right. And so I hope that if I use the right hashtag or like put the right picture, that you'll buy it. Right. That's what it is. Because that's what I know. There are definitely things that we do in our business that we probably want to be doing differently because they're not going to work for us the way we're using them. And one of them is how we post. In order for you to actually get me to buy this mug or get you to buy this mug, I have to do it the other way, right? For that, I have to know who you are and why you're buying the mug from me. I have to know about my target audience. But now if I figure that out, okay, I need to know my target audience, then here's where my mind will go. Everybody was right about me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm totally wrong about everything. Because remember, for many of us, we're starting out in our businesses. And when you find the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast, you find it in a space where you feel like your business isn't working, right? So you start to believe the things that people say about you because you're like, well, okay, if I don't know my target audience, then clearly I'm not cut out to be a business owner, right? So what ends up happening is that we end up getting stuck in this. And so we don't want to look in that direction. And it's just easier to keep doing the things that we're doing, right? So that's how we get stuck on this hamster wheel. Now, some of my students have been on this roller coaster for years, trying one thing after another, right? Alternating in periods of stagnancy, punctuated by unpredictably successful events. It's chaos because sometimes you'll have like these long periods where nothing happens, and you'll have these unpredictable events that do really, really well because without understanding your target audience and simply trying to show the product and be like, buy this thing, sometimes you're going to try a new tactic that will work once and do really, really well and then collapse. Or you'll have these random flash in the pans that work, but you won't know why because you don't understand the general infrastructure that comes underneath it. But because we are so afraid of being in an environment where people are just constantly telling us that we're doing it wrong, it's hard for us to go and ask questions or ask for help or figure out, hey, how do I do this? That's actually one of the reasons why I set up the Social Strategy Squad, was because I got tired of being made to feel bad when I asked questions, because the truth is that's how you grow in your business, right? So it shows up in your business by, one, an unwillingness to ask questions because you're afraid. You don't want to be shunned. You don't want people to think that you're stupid or you don't know what you're doing. And two, it manifests itself in that you're afraid to be bold and ask for the sale and really tell people why they would want to buy this product, because you're afraid you might be wrong, or that they're going to think that you're too big for your britches and they're not going to go buy from you because you're arrogant, right? So there's a whole lot of things that go along with bringing these belief systems into how we sell in our business. Now, what none of us knows, because we didn't go to school for this, is that no one other than your friends and family is going to buy from you based off of just your right hashtags, right? Because your friends and family right, at this stage of your business are going to see all of your content anyway, and they're going to want to support you. And so they're going to support you, which is why a lot of these tactics work early on in your business. And then after a while, they stop working, because once you hit the edge of that warm market of people that know, like, and trust you already, you're not able to penetrate further, right? And so you keep doing the same thing over and over again, using the right hashtag, looking at all these other things, hoping that one of those will work, when, it really doesn't. And your friends and family stop seeing things after a while, and that's when it starts to compound, and we go back up into feeling bad about yourself and so on and so forth. So you can see how this cycle perpetuates itself, because we look in this one direction without looking, sort of like, without taking the opportunity to say, okay, let's pull back for a second and see if maybe there is another way of doing this, right? So now the key is, right, is that in order, the other way of doing this is really identifying why people want the product that they want, right? That's ultimately the key. Why do people want the product that they want? If you're going to buy a Fuck the Hustle mug, you're not buying the mug because you just want a mug. If you wanted to do that, you could buy the mug at Target. You could go to Amazon and buy a 6-pack of mugs. I don't think they come in 6-packs, but you know what I mean? You buy a box of 6 packs of mugs, and then you'd have a bunch of mugs, but that's not what you want. The mug is doing something for you emotionally, right? If somebody buys an item of clothing, they're buying clothes because there is something that particular item of clothing does for them. Otherwise, they would buy some, like, why would I buy clothes from, say, a friend of mine who is selling from her boutique versus Target, which is right down the street? Yes, it's also to support my friend, but I'm not going to buy, like, so if my sister sells lace dresses, I'm not buying them. I want to support my sister, but I don't wear lace dresses. But if she sells a dog mom t-shirt, I'm definitely going to buy that, right? Because I am her audience for that. So it's really important to understand, what is it that your market actually wants? Why is your product or time worth this amount of money? That takes a lot of work in soul searching. Okay. So, and the problem is that work in soul searching makes you reflect inward on your value, on how you feel about what you're doing, on the products, on what you offer. And that goes back to the stuff we talked about earlier in this episode about the belief systems that we have brought with us about value, right? So it kind of all connects together. And a lot of people think that, like I said earlier, that, charging what you're worth is just one thing. It's like, okay, we'll charge what you're worth. Here's the technique, just do it. And sure, you can do it that way, but you'll have to have somebody, sitting next to you the whole time to help support you. What's really, really important is starting to understand how to determine the value of something, right? So that once you know what that is, right, like you did in the last episode, then you feel confident promoting it because you really feel like you have a firm leg to stand on, rather than right now where chances are, because you don't have that foundation, right? You don't know what to say, and so you word vomit. So I'll tell you what I do. This is my technique for how I deal with this, because I've had this problem all the time. So what I do is that for every single thing that I sell, I have a little paragraph that talks about, like, why is it important to you? Bullet points of what it is that's going to, how is it going to bring value into your life? What is it going to do for you in particular? So that I know that, okay, no matter what happens, I understand what this value is. And even if I get to a moment where we're talking and I can't remember because I have fibromyalgia, I can pull up my sheet and be like, okay, I have fibromyalgia here. Let me just pull this out for you, or I'll send you the sheet that'll tell you why my marketing strategy intensive is going to save you $10,000 and make you $10,000, right? Those are the kinds of things that first I have to understand about what it is that I do in order for me to say it, right? So for everything that you sell, so if you sell, Judy Blue jeans, then sit down and write down, like, what are the features, the things that people love. Don't tell me that they're stretchy. Yeah, okay, sure, they're stretchy, but what does the stretchiness mean for me? Well, it means for me that I'm not going to have, waistbands digging into my stomach. I'm not going to feel like I'm constricted in my clothing. It won't shrink, right? Like, and that means I'm not gonna have to replace them in a few months. Like, though they get more comfortable, like all these things, you share that information. Now suddenly you're showing me the value of the product as opposed to saying, here's a pair of jeans and they're $13 or whatever, right? Now, if I'm being really honest, when I first started as a business owner, I actually thought that people would just see a product, like it, click on it, buy it, and that would be the end of that. Like, I literally thought that that's how it happened. It never even occurred to me that I had to, that there was something being done on the back end to create a desire within me for that product. I just thought when I saw a product, I was like, oh, look, product, I want that, click, buy it, done, right? I did not understand how much work had gone on the back end to saying the right words, putting the things in the right place, getting to know me in such a way that when I saw it, I immediately knew that I wanted it, press the button and buy. It's not a seamless thing, but it looks seamless. It certainly looks effortless. So when I started, I just thought all I had to do was say, here you go, here's the product, and people will see it and they'll click on it and they'll buy it. Because that's how it felt to me when I was having that experience. What I didn't understand is that there was a lot of promotion going on. A lot of it. A lot of self-promotion from people, a lot of broad promotion, but there was just a lot of promotion. Paid promotion, unpaid promotion, social promotion, word of mouth promotion, but there was a lot of promotional work being done. Tons of it. I just wasn't aware of it happening, but it was all happening, and it funneled me into the place that I needed to be so that when that guy says, here, do you want this product? I'm like, absolutely, I want this product. For many of us, we didn't do any of that work because one, we didn't realize there was even a journey involved. We didn't realize that there was an emotional journey. But two is because we are so afraid of actually being bold about what it is that we're selling that even knowing that there is that pathway, we try to be as vague as possible so as not to offend anyone. And so when we're being as vague as possible, it's like, oh, well, this is a product if you want it. This is one thing I want you to take out of your vocabulary instantaneously. Remove if this is interesting to you. If you want this product, just assume that the person wants it and tell them where to go. You can get this product. You can sign up now. That kind of, just get rid of the if you. If they don't want to, they won't do it. Just go with yes. Okay, so it never occurred to me back then about why that I have to figure out why they wanted these items in the first place. And I never thought I'd have, which means that, totally lost. Okay, we're going to start. We're going to fix this. Okay, we got that far. Oh, okay. When I first started, I never thought that I'd have to figure out why anybody wanted my products. I just thought they did. Like, everybody wears clothes, so sell it and people will buy it. That's just sort of what my philosophy was. It didn't occur to me that I needed to understand who the people I was that was marketing it to, and that brings you right back to your target market, which you can learn all about in the Social Strategy Squad at Manessa.com squad. I cannot recommend stage 1 enough. Your target market, dude, is going to blow your mind in there. It is all about your target market. When you're promoting yourself, whether it's for a job or a product, or you have to know what the other person on the other end wants, which means you have to know that person, right? It's kind of like your kid. You're not going to get your kid to eat broccoli by saying it's going to be really healthy and it's going to build strong bones. Your kid doesn't give a fuck about that. They're immortal. But if you call it a flying tree, oh my God, look, it's the tree and it's flying in and don't eat me. Oh my God, and they're really excited to eat it, right? You have to know your market, okay? Now, though I usually only talk about this in business, I actually want to do a brief touch on this for those of you. I know that a lot of you have people in your lives who are either changing jobs or applying for raises or things like that. And actually, I know some of you who are really getting excited. Oh, a couple of you I was talking about too the other day who are really excited about new opportunities in your life using your skill sets in other corporate jobs, which is like super exciting. And so I want you to have this information because it is truly important in terms of how this self-promotion issue shows up in life. And please make sure you share this with people who you know would help. Okay. So though I usually talk about business, because I have been working with a lot of people who are changing jobs in the workforce, most of them realizing what is really important to them in their day-to-day. They're trying to like make changes in their life and really craft the kind of life that they want to live. Right. These are people who realize that they want to get paid more, have a higher quality of life. But here's what's interesting. Whenever I've talked to them, okay, so like they're talking about raises or applying for jobs, okay, but either one, they have always been telling me the conversation that they want to have, right? As if they're going in to beg for something, right? Like as if not literally, nobody's like getting on their knees and begging, but really like it feels like they are begging. Like they're like, I really need this, right? I deserve this. Almost like they're supplicating for it, right? As if it's and it's really like it's a power play at that moment, like with the boss, right? This is really important to keep in mind is that bosses can treat raises as what they really are, which is fair compensation for work that you are doing, or they can treat it as a power play, as a power move, right? I know a lot of bosses who play it as a power move. It's really unhealthy. It is not good. And you can tell when someone's playing for a power move. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute, right? So first of all, they're going in as if they need to beg for something. And so I want to just talk about that briefly because I want you to know you are not begging for anything when you go in to any job interview or when you're going into any request for a raise. You're not begging for anything. A lot of times they feel like they need to make a case to prove their value to get whatever raise, right? As if they don't believe that they will be believed that they deserve the raise. So it's like I go in and I say I want to, I'm only getting my 2% cost of living. I want 20% or 15% or 5%, whatever, right? Whatever that number is, right? But I don't feel like you're going to believe that I give that amount of value. So I feel like I have to prove that I bring that amount of value, right? Now, I've been on the other side. I've been on the side asking for raises, and I've been on the side of people asking me. I have been on the side of hiring and firing people. So I have been all over. I run the gamut on all of them. So I'm going to tell you that there's many people who sit on the other side of that negotiating table who their belief system is that they don't believe you can be successful with your gender, whatever your gender is, race, hair color, presentation, lack of degrees, whatever. Like, they have a framework in their mind that they think is necessary. And this goes back to stop shitting all over yourself. They just think this is how it is. And they are sitting and a lot of them are sitting on the other side of that table. Not everybody is, but it's important to recognize when that is the case, right? Because if you truly look at any situation like this where there is a vacancy or whether someone is asking for a raise, if they are employees who do their job, do the work, and provide value, right? Is that as a manager, here are the things that I'm thinking about, okay? One, I don't want to fire people, okay? Because firing people is an absolute pain in the ass. It is a lot of paperwork. It's really hard. It's emotionally taxing, and it leads to so much work, right? Because I want people to work out. I want people to do good in the job. I want people to fit in. I want people to get work done, because ultimately my job as a manager is to just keep the wheels turning, keep progress happening, keep the lights on, just keep things happening. And it doesn't happen if I have unhappy employees or if I have employees who constantly rotate out, because then I end up taking 6 months or more to recover from a departure. Okay. So if you leave, it's going to take about 6 months for me to recover, because I have to I have to post the position. I have to get it approved. We have to figure out the salary. Then we have to recruit. Then we have to onboard. And after you onboard somebody, it takes 3 to 6 months to get them up to full speed. Okay. So we're just going to lose a lot of time if you leave, like a ton. Okay. It is not worth it to me. I would much rather, unless somebody is like horrible at their job, not doing anything, willfully disobedient and, unsubordinate, like, just awful, right? I want things to work out, because it's a lot easier for me to train somebody who's already in a position to be doing better than it is for me to fire them and replace them. So we usually want it to work out, right? We want people to be able to be successful, right? So number one is we want you to do a good job, okay? We need you to stay, because if you don't stay, my life is going to suck as a manager, okay? I'm just telling you. So that is an item of leverage that you have that is really important, okay? The other thing is a company that is not willing to see your request reasonably. So if you've gathered data and you said, these are the things that I've impacted, this is what I've done, this is what I've accomplished, right? And you're like, I brought this in and I've asked for a raise. And if the data that you brought in from learning which episode on the episode of 34, right? And they're still not willing to give you a reasonable voice or give you even a reasonable raise, then you may want to find different employers, because then it's highly likely that a lot of your job satisfaction or dissatisfaction and unhappiness is actually coming from your workplace. This may not be a healthy place to work in, because the kind of place you want to work in is a place that looks at their employees like that, where they value the work that you do. They want you to succeed. They want to help train you into success. In fact, they want to help train you into success and help you move forward, right? A lot of times they just need you to speak up. You don't want to fire people, right? So, and what we're really looking for is someone willing to learn, right? If someone's willing to learn and grow, everything's great. It is so important to recognize that the way that the entire job market has been structured to make people who are going in to request something feel like they are at a significant disadvantage, whereas the truth of the matter is you're not at a significant disadvantage. And I'm going to tell you something right now. When you walk into any job, anything, if you can, like, right, so if you're like, let's do this, I want you to just ask for a crazy number. Ask for a crazy number. And they're going to laugh in your face. They will laugh in your face. They're going to be like, okay, we're not giving you that. But it anchors you. It anchors them at that number. And so whatever it is now going to be higher than whatever it was going to be before. Okay, so that's a great way to sort of like anchor people, is use the anchoring bias. It's super helpful when it comes to negotiating your salary. But these are things that are real, that nobody talks about, nobody teaches, because these are just, and again, because we're told not to talk about money, this is how it grows. Okay. So if you are somebody who is in that situation right now where either your business is having trouble or you want to request a raise, if you are someone who wants to talk about any of the issues that you're having at work, or need some guidance for how to handle asking for raises and the like, or working on areas of self-promotion, reach out to Carolyn at Manessa.com, and she can help set up a time with you for us to meet and work through some of these issues together. And she can help set that up. Because here's the thing, okay? This is what I'm going to leave you with today. Truly understanding what you offer and why people want it is critical to any task, any ask. Let's try that again. Here's what I'm going to leave you with today. Here's the thing you really want to remember is that truly understanding what you offer and why people want it is critical for any ask. Any ask. So now that you know this, you can create the value. If you're not sure how to create the value, you can learn in the Social Strategy Squad. We'll talk about that. Oh, fuck, I did it again. Okay, we'll try this again. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave you with this, that truly understanding what you offer and why people want it is critical to any ask. So now you can create the value, and when you have what they want, the price is not going to be relevant. They will talk themselves into any price once you have figured out how to share the value. You can learn all about how to do this in the Social Strategy Squad. I set this up to be a space that you can come in, get guidance on what to do next, spot check your issue, fix it, and then stay or go as you choose. This membership is not designed for people to stay here forever, though it is also my community. So a lot of people choose to stay there so we can hang out, talk, learn. It's a really great business think tank. But the main goal for it is to provide you with a way for you to spot check your issues that you're having in your business making money. Okay. So that is something critical. So if you are having trouble in any of these areas and maybe don't want to work one-on-one, but would prefer to work in a group environment, join the Social Strategy Squad at Manessa.com/squad. Now, if you're not ready to dive in and spend some money, because not everybody is, and you're just getting started out, that's totally fine. There are loads of ways for you to understand your value now and get comfortable with owning your confidence first until you're ready to join the squad and hang out with the think tank and the crew in there. Okay. So here are the things that I'm going to recommend that you do if you're like, I just want to kind of like dabble in it right now and learn on it. The first is I want you to watch the video about radical self-confidence by Miss L, who is my intimacy coach. I have literally never heard anybody talk about confidence in this way, and I recommend her video anytime that I can. The other thing that I'm going to recommend is that you read Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller. It's a guidebook for how to get confident promoting yourself. And where I am now really started all with that book. It put me in the thinking in the direction that I needed to go in and just really start me on a fabulous, fabulous path. Now there's one more thing that sort of before we wrap up today. Now there is a reason why you won't feel confident selling or pitching your products. And that is that you don't believe in them, you don't like them, or you really just don't want to do whatever it is anymore. That is an entirely different ballgame, okay? On the final episode of this very special series about charging what you're worth, we're going to talk about what to do when the feeling's gone. It's been missing too long and you just don't have the heart to tell yourself that this is what you figured out and you've been in denial. This happens very often where a lot of people will get on the train. They will decide that they're done being on the train. They don't want to be on the train anymore. They want to go somewhere else. They want to get off, but they're already on the train and they feel like they have to stay on because they got on, as if getting off means some sort of terrible failure or something. So we're going to talk about that next week. So if that's something that you're thinking about, is how do you break up with your business without feeling like a failure, then you definitely want to be on next week's podcast, which is going to be at the same bat time, same bat channel. However, also keep an eye out on this page because we're going to be launching my Patreon soon, and a lot of my content is going to be going behind the exclusive creator supported wall. I am very, very excited for all of this. So keep an eye out for my new Patreon that is coming soon. I will start sharing that next week. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. And please help other people stop shitting too, because shitting is bad for you. All right. We're going to stop streaming now. Oh my God. I've had literally no people talking. I find that hard to believe. I'm not going to end the stream. Am I ending stream? No, I'm not ending stream. We're done recording. Oh my God, I'm like all over the place. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Oh, here we go. All of these comments. Okay. Remember to have everyone subscribe here too. Yes, make sure that you subscribe. Thanks, LaFern. I need to add that to next week's. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel because we are going to get to a stage where you will be notified when you subscribe and you won't need to worry about text messaging or anything like that. What I am trying to do is create a leaner business that has a lot less overhead. My business had become extremely overhead heavy. It happened, that's how momentum happens, as we were just talking about when you get on the train. You get on the train and it keeps going and the train's going up a hill and now it's going down a hill and now it's going down a ravine and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is even happening? that's something that can happen. So it is so critical to look at every single one of your things. I literally got rid of so much because I was like, I'm either not using it, it's not giving me results. And now I'm working more on like really just becoming leaner, because ultimately there are two ways to create profit. One, increase the amount of money you bring in. Two, decrease the amount of money that goes out, right? Those two things need to be done in conjunction. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a situation where you're either, living like a hermit, like a monk, or you are just going crazy like all the time. Love this so much. Oh my God, but I can make beautiful copies. Oh my God, Sophia, that was amazing. So if you have not yet had a chance to see the TikTok on the business page, you have to see it. We shared it from somewhere else. I can't remember, Sophia. It's tagged in the video. But I watched that video and I was like, think about this, right? That video made it seem like all we are capable of as women is putting on makeup and making beautiful copies. Oh my God, seriously, what the fuck is up with that ad? I couldn't even believe that it was real. I was like, this is a real ad? This is a real ad? Like, why? Why is this a real ad? Oh God, it was awful. But that wasn't that long ago. Okay, so it's like 70 years ago now, maybe, right? 70 years ago. But most of us are in our 30s and 40s. Okay, so whoop. So forget about this last 30 years, because we were formed in here 30 years ago. So now we're looking in the 80s. Okay. The 80s were still very much like, come on, toots. That was totally a thing in the 80s. Toots? Do people even say toots anymore? God, I would laugh if someone's like, excuse me, what the fuck? That's like 1935? Toots, right? But like in the 80s, people would still call you toots. And it would be okay, right? There was a whole different world in terms of what we were considered to be capable of. And what's really important to keep in mind is that I'm talking about like little girls. Usually we're born with that, but little boys were also taught these same things about little girls. And if you were a little boy who felt like you were if you were a little girl who felt like you were in a little boy body, then you were internalizing all of these girl messages, and it was even harder for you because now you've got two separate messages going on. If you are a person of color, again, different messages. So it's important to remember that for a lot of people, they don't exist at just one space where they're a woman, or they exist in a space of intersection of two or more areas where there are negative stereotypes assigned to them in terms of their capabilities, right? And so when they walk into a room, they walk in with that deficit already built in, right? And not them, but like they have to fight up against it. And so one of the things I think that is like really important for me as I go through my life now is to really make sure that I'm surrounding myself and being in places where people subscribe to the philosophies that are important to me. So which is why I think it's important that if you are in a workspace where people do not value you, whether you are, regardless of your gender, age, sexual preference, color, it doesn't matter. If you do not feel like they respect you or respect your work product as a result, and here's the thing, you don't need to prove it to anybody. For a lot of us, we feel like, well, maybe that wasn't whatever it is, right? Maybe it wasn't racist, or maybe it wasn't sexist, or maybe he wasn't trying to flirt with me, right? Or maybe he wasn't being mean. Don't gaslight yourself. Okay? Don't gaslight yourself. Just because nobody's around to gaslight you doesn't mean you have to do it. Okay? These things are real. They're valid. And it is important that you be in a space that you feel safe to work in. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy your life, which is one of the reasons why sometimes it's not getting the raise. Sometimes it's not increasing your prices. Sometimes it's time for you to do something else. And it's important to really be honest, and that's what we're going to talk about that next week, is because it's important to really be honest about you and how you change as you grow. Because sometimes these issues may not be what you think they are, but because you're afraid to look at it in one direction, or you haven't had the perspective, or there's no mirror. There's a lot of reasons why we may not see it. Whatever those reasons are, that's been the thing that's kept us from making the changes. But the second you see it, you're like, oh, okay, I can do that. Yeah, I know. It's really just a matter of knowing that you're supported and knowing that it exists, and being believed that it exists. That's important too, I think. Okay. Alrighty. So, okay. Oh, gosh, LaFern, I knew when I said that, I was like, I'll bet you LaFern was too big for her britches. I was like, I felt like LaFern was definitely too big. Like, not because I think, not because of like who you are. Well, I mean, yes, because of who you are, but also because like of where you grew up. Like, I bet you Colleen Bet you anything Colleen was too big for her britches. Bet you anything. Okay. Sophia says, thank goodness for Google, because I have so many questions. If I was having to ask one person, I'd probably driven them crazy already. Oh my God, I know, right? My goal is to never have to think about applying to work for someone else ever again. I love that. You know, it's interesting for me. Like, I feel like I've evolved. I think I've had so many evolutions into different things. And I want to be really clear about when I use the word evolution, okay? A lot of people use the word evolution to say we're evolving into higher creatures. That is not what the word evolution means. Evolution just means changing to adapt to the environment, okay? So the reason why I wanted to say that is because a lot of times I'm like, oh, I've evolved. It sounds like, well, I've evolved into something so much better. No, I haven't. I've just evolved into something different that is more appropriate to the environment that I'm in. So I am in a different environment, and I really do feel like I need to talk about this more. And now I need to evolve to accommodate it. And it's interesting because I have the things that I want have changed. Like, especially going through the Patreon and all this, like, I'm starting to see what I really want out of my life. And I was surprised. I was very, very surprised to find out what I really want. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And so I'm still workshopping, you know, just a lot of things because I just came out of a huge trauma situation, right? So March and April were trauma, right? May was recovering. And now June is the first month that I feel good, right? June is the first month that I'm like, all right, here I am. So basically June is my first month where I'm living in a new environment. So me, Manessa, has to evolve to fit in whatever space that is. So I think the key is to recognize what situation anyone is in, and physically, emotionally, whatever, right? Because we have so many different ways that we're going to be something. And then figure out what in you and your business needs to evolve to match with those wants and needs, right? So like Sophia's like, I never want to work for anybody ever again, right? So that's where you're at, right? But a year ago, you were doing things by yourself and you wanted to do them by yourself, right? So now where we're at right now is you still don't want to work for anybody. Great, perfect, right? But you've evolved to accommodate whatever space you're in that you're working with your mother. Right? So that's really where I think a lot of these like really granular changes start to come in. I think when I first started my business, I thought all my changes were going to be big and sweeping, but I realized that it's the smaller changes that end up being bigger, I think, as is typical with the way that I train. Love that. And we are taught that you should be so thankful that someone hired you. Exactly. I got to tell you, I feel like the next job I apply for, I'm sorry, I thought I saw something out there, but I didn't. There was a whale out there, by the way, for an hour that I did not see. We walked past our neighbor. She's like, did you see the whale? And I was like, really? I was like, how long? She's like, it was out there for an hour. And I'm like, what? But yeah, so I feel like, and I was actually telling someone this the other day, do not walk into that room feeling like you are like you are begging for a job. You're interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you, because you're going to be spending a lot of time in this place. Make sure you can stand them, right? Make sure you like them. My daughter and I are watching the new oh my God, there's a new Valley Girl movie. Oh my God. Do you remember the old Valley Girl movie? She couldn't believe that in high school, the girl's main goal after graduating was to get married and say you wanted a job was a joke. Oh my God, dude, you know what's so funny? Oh my God, is I remember, like, you guys definitely remember. I mean, we all remember this, where, and I think this was like our parents' generation for sure, where the expectation was they were going to college to find themselves husbands. And then as soon as they found a husband, they'd probably drop out because they didn't really need an education. Like, let me just, actually, I just realized, they didn't really need an education. They have a lot of singing. That's actually the first movie I saw Nick Cage in. I remember vividly seeing, and that was also the first movie that there was a woman and her breasts, like she's a 20-something and her breasts are all over the place. And I remember her breasts being all over, like there's a lot of nakedness. Maybe it was an orgy. I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But I remember seeing it and being like, huh? And like, but it was a movie I was like allowed to watch. So I know why. My parents didn't realize it was in the middle of our MTV. So it was like MTV, and then like the movie, and then MTV, right? So like, I don't think they realized it was in the middle of, it was like one of those MTV movies that they put on. And so we would watch the MTV tapes, right? And then fast forward to the picture, like the part where all the people were like doing their thing. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna check to see what's happening on Facebook, because I realized I haven't even looked at Facebook, and I'm sure people have been commenting there too. Oh my God. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, this is the problem here. Let me look here. There we go. Okay. There we go. Viewer, misfit for life. I know you've been a part of the community like forever, ever. I just love everything. Who is this viewer who is so amazing? I have to see who you are, viewer. Who is the viewer? We gotta find a better way for me to be able to see all the comments, but we'll get there. I'm loving this. And whose mom called them toots? I want to know that too. Oh, this is never gonna load. Never gonna load. Never gonna give you up. Okay. Well, clearly I'm not seeing any comments anywhere in the world. Okay, no comments. I know that there's comments on Facebook. Like, I can see them. I just can't see who it is that left them. So, viewer, I love you. Whoever you are, you're really fucking funny. And your mom called you toots. Oh, you know what? I wonder if it would be... Nope, not there either. Okay, well, your mom called you toots, and I think that's amazing. And I forgot what I was talking about because I was so busy trying to go between the comments. So there is that. What's interesting, though, is the thing that says just Facebook comments. I can see everybody's comments, so I don't know why it was being weird. Okay, so everyone, we are now at the tail end of the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So here's what's happening for the next week or so. So my Patreon is almost done. It is moving me into the direction of being more of a creator who provides influence in these spaces, less of a coach. I really enjoy creating the content. I really enjoy drawing. I really enjoy doing this live stuff. I love that. Before my business was really geared more towards coaching and clients. I feel like this is really something I really enjoy doing this more and having these kinds of conversations and hanging out and really just being in a group community. And so I started a Patreon to help us facilitate that more. And because I had so many people who are at like varying stages, like some people just want to be a part of the podcast and like be involved in the community, but don't necessarily need like the whole trainings, like all. Amy Lee was toots. Oh my God, Amy Lee. No wonder, of course, she's going to say getting off is never a bad thing. I love you, Amy Lee. Amy Lee is my business bestie. I love her so much. No, I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah. So keep an eye out because Patreon is going to have so much cool shit. So Misfit for Life, we are having some Misfit swag is starting. So we are starting to do some serious shit in terms of branding ourselves, because here's the thing that I want. Here's actually what I really want to share as I leave is this. We have spent too many years saying that we are chronically ill, neurodivergent, sick, disabled, blah, blah. And all of those things are fine. All of those things are fine. But when we say them, often we think of ourselves as deficits, right? Like there's something wrong with us, right? And what all that really does is, right, when we have these frameworks, is that it basically means that our lives are a little different and we are misfits for the way that society has set up things for able-bodied white dudes, right? So my whole thing is that we are misfits for the way society says we're supposed to do things. So we're going to do things our own way, whatever that way looks like. It doesn't matter. Everybody's going to have their own way of running their business. Some are going to be creators. Some are going to be coaches. Some are going to be product sellers. Some are going to be artists. There's a million different things, and not all of us are going to stay in the same place for this, like, forever. Because honestly, who wants to? Nobody wants to. We're all going to evolve and change and grow and develop into different people. And the Patreon is being created to support the people who are tired of feeling like they are at a deficit because of their framework and are ready to just be misfits and cause some trouble, right? So that's where the Patreon is coming in. The Social Strategy Squad is going to be where we do the roadmap to success work. It's going to be where I do my actual coaching. That's going to be where we learn all about the business stuff. But the two things are going to be separated now to be able to provide more community and more options for people to represent. So there's a lot of things coming. I sort of just like gave you like a little bird's eye view today, but I am really like, I feel so happy and at peace with the way things have been evolving. I cannot wait to share you with it. Share you with it. Can't wait to share it with you. Alrighty. I'm going to see you guys next week, 10 a.m. Eastern. And we're going to talk all about what to do when you want to break up with your biz. Dude, that sucks. Sometimes it's just time to break up, and it is hard to do, but listen, if you do it well, you can get out of it with minimal damage and without hurting anybody's feelings, okay? Or minimal hurting anybody's feelings, right? So join me next week. I will see you there.